Hi, everybody. Welcome to my kitchen. Okay, so today is going to be the very first. See here, I haven't even ever set up here. Today is going to be the very first Confident Homeschool Mom Morning Show, and I plan on doing this every Tuesday because I want us as a community of homeschool moms to have a place to come and chat about some things that maybe you're dealing with, and maybe ask questions that you don't maybe you feel uncomfortable asking friends. And so it's almost 6 a.m. where I'm at, and I've got some things prepared just to share with us today. But we might be here in my kitchen, like my coffee maker is going. So I want to encourage you to grab your cup of coffee, and I'm going to go start mine. Mine's got some collagen in it that helps me, have nice hair. So this is just going to be you and me having a conversation. And I'm going to pull up my notes because I want to make sure I stay on track. And get back to the top. Okay, so give me a sec. Excuse the booty shorts for a moment. I apologize. I'm also going to need some milk in this. I don't know about you. I want to hear from you guys in the chat. What do you guys drink in the morning? I've got my bougie espresso machine. I worked at Starbucks for about 7 years, and I'm bougie about my coffee now. So my coffee gonna have Oatly full fat milk and collagen, and it's delicious. Absolutely delicious. So I want to hear from you in the chat, whether you're a tea drinker or you're like super healthy and you've got like lemon water and apple cider vinegar maybe. Put it in the chat. We're about to get started. All right. I really like this full fat milk because it has just more flavor. I don't really like things that are watered down. All right, here we go. All right. So many of us as homeschool moms, our coffee gets reheated. Goodness gracious me, right? Multiple times a day. And so I hear you. If that is you, I am going to see if I can bring this tab into a new spot so I can see your beautiful comments and faces. Let's see. Can I separate this? Add tab to new group. I don't know if that's going to work. It'll be easier if I do it here. All right. Well, I'll get started right at the top of the hour. Right now, just chit chat. So this is the very first episode of the Confident Homeschool Moms Morning Show. And again, we're going to be meeting Tuesday mornings here. Yeah. My goal is to encourage you, help you gain a little clarity, and save a little bit of sanity, right? Because sometimes, like, Monday was rough. So we're going to be here Tuesday mornings, just regathering ourselves because we still have a week ahead of us, and everything's going to work out, right? We're intentional, and we lay the rails of consistency and really honestly, get our morning routine down, help our kids with their morning routine, which there's a lot of ways. I have so much to talk about when it comes to morning routines. We're just going to begin touching on the surface today about maybe you've been feeling lazy. Maybe you've been feeling like, oh, man, I spent too much time on my phone. Maybe you've been feeling like, well, I should start planning, but I don't want to. I hear that, girlfriend. But the thing is, you aren't lazy. You are probably overloaded. So let's go ahead and jump in and start talking about that. All right, I want to be able to see the chat here. Okay, perfect. So welcome to the Confident Homeschool Moms Morning Show. And this is where we have real talks for moms who crave coffee, peace, and permission to break the rules. So this is going to be a space where I generally like try to be a nurturing whenever I create a how-to or it's my heart that you feel seen. But here I'm going to get a little bit more spicy because I think too often we're sitting on the sidelines waiting for someone to give us permission, and like you don't need me to give you permission technically, but here it is. I'm going to get a little spicy. And if you don't know me, my name is Amanda Schenkenberger. I am a second generation homeschooler, homeschool mom of 4 boys, mental health practitioner, and author of the new book, Overwhelmed. And let's go ahead and reset your day today. And let's start talking about building a homeschool life that actually works. So you know the feeling. I've got a little story to start us out. And there's that feeling of something that's cliche, and it also makes you want to cry. Like, I hate things that are cliche and then also true. It's just like, oh, why does it have to be this way? And so there's a phrase that you might have heard of before, and it goes, the days are long, but the years are short. And that's the kind of phrase that's like cliche and true and makes me want to cry. I mean, I just started dropping off my 2 oldest at youth group this week, and like the youth pastor was like, "What's next? College?" And I was like, "Don't say that." So this phrase really hit home to me probably in the last month. Like, it comes in waves personally, and very often I spend my early mornings in deep client work, and that's when my brain's the sharpest and my house is the quietest, and it's made sense for a long time. But I have slowly realized that I'm giving my best energy to my business, and my kids were getting leftovers. And not just that, there is this sweet spot in the morning for my kids where they're just like quiet and they want to cuddle. The older 2, not so much, but the younger 2 for sure. And so there was like this ache kind of creeping in. That shame, like you should be investing in your kids. It was like, oh, I'm missing something really important here. And so there was like a whisper that was something precious I was missing. So I made a shift, and with the exception of Tuesdays, I stopped taking clients and doing live before 7 a.m. Now I don't see clients until 7:30 a.m. Pacific time, which if you're on the East Coast, like that's really late. But it is really important for me to protect that precious time because my littles aren't little forever. And I know that was true when they were little, but even now I'm like, this year is going to be my first year into the teens. And I'm going to be in the teen years for like 15 years. I better really like it. But I knew something precious was slipping away. And so now, instead of working through those sweet little moments, I actually don't see clients before 7:30 a.m. Except Tuesdays. So I would love to hear like what your experience is of that phrase of the days are long, but the years are short. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on that in the comments. So what I want to remind you of this morning is that you're not lazy. You know, somebody might think I'm lazy for not seeing clients, at a convenient time for them. But what I'm doing, what you are learning how to do is prioritizing the most important things. And so that's what we're going to do here in the Confident Homeschool Mom Morning Show. We're talking about reclaiming our time, our rhythms, our presence, because that's the best present, and starting to choose what matters on purpose. And if you've been living in like kind of on autopilot, and this sounds like, yes, I want this, it's actually typically, I don't want to say for sure, but typically it's a lot harder than you expect. So think of our show here as your Tuesday morning reset, where we get honest about what's really making homeschool hard and how to make it work for your actual life. Now, let's go ahead and talk about something we all need to revisit often, and that's our homeschool mom mindset. Because if you've ever looked around mid-morning and there are dishes piling up and a toddler screaming and you haven't even started the lesson plan, it is easy to think I'm failing at this. But what if the problem isn't your effort, it's the story you're telling yourself? What if you're not actually behind? What if you're just overloaded with expectations that don't actually fit your life? If you keep telling yourself there's not enough hours in the day, that'll be the story you live in. There'll never be enough hours in the day. It's a little bit of a hard pill to swallow, but when we talk about our mindset and shifting our mindset, we got to challenge the way we're thinking. And a lot of times, just be honest, a lot of times challenging the way we're thinking feels unsafe. So I hear you if that's you. it let's hear. What is that? Okay, no, we're good. At first I was like, is my mic on? Probably the first thing I should check, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and jump back into my notes, because I want to help you shift your perspective. In challenging our thoughts, our deep seated beliefs can feel very unsafe and can send off all the alarm bells in your body. But and I think when we're ready to really like take that big pill, it's gonna hit us differently than like this absolute rejection. And I share this story of when I started this business, because this is not my first business. But when I started homeschool coaching, I told myself that story. There's not enough hours in the day. I'll never get this all done. Like I got to hustle harder, work harder, da 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 da. And I've always been a workhorse, so this like wasn't a new story that I was telling myself. And I had a coach, phenomenal business coach, and she said, "Well, if you keep telling yourself there's not enough hours in the day, you have an intimacy issue." And I was like, "Girlfriend, intimacy is like one of my core values. I do not have an intimacy problem, and not that I had a relational intimacy issue. Like I love like deep dive talks with friends, or just like with you guys here on YouTube. But I had an intimacy with my time kind of problem. And initially, I rejected her words because I was like not ready for it. And then I don't know if it was that same day or that same week. And she said, "You have a choice to be overwhelmed." And I went, "I have a choice? There's a choice in it?" That thought alone was like revolutionary to me. I have a choice in being overwhelmed. Let's just sit on that for a second. I'm gonna drink some coffee. You have a choice in being overwhelmed. When she said that, that started resonating, and then I started looking at how I looked at time, how how I used my time, right? How we use our time tells a lot about who you are, um, and where you're at in life. So all that to say, when those things hit us and we're kind of like a ooh moment and we're challenging some maybe deep-seated beliefs we've had, and we can feel their impact. Like it's not like a rebuff, but it's like, oh, let me hold that for a bit. That I think is a starting point for us to start healing any kind of mismanaged mindset. Okay, that wasn't in my notes, but that's what I was trying to say. So I want to encourage you, moms. Again, we're going to shift our perspective, and we're going to name what is true, look at where overwhelm can really be coming from, and reframe pressure in a way that gives you your power back. Oh man, sister, you are so much more powerful than you think. I don't even, like, not even start on that soapbox. Okay. So you don't need more hustle, you need more margin. Okay. So let's go ahead and dive into this. And if you're listening to the replay, again, I'd still love to hear from you in the comments. I will read them. And I want to know how shifting your mindset and like what you think about overwhelming a choice. I would love to hear your thoughts about that in the comments. Alrighty. So when we're feeling overwhelmed, let's talk about a process of what we can do when we realize, oh, this is overwhelmed. That's how I'm feeling. I'm feeling overwhelmed. So I don't want to say most, many. Let's say many homeschool moms aren't walking around with a full heart and a peaceful smile. There are moms who do that, and I do that, and I have seasons of that. I don't have that 100% all the time, but a lot of homeschool moms are walking around dry, very dry, emotionally wrung out, overstimulated. Oh man, overstimulated for sure, and then constantly second guessing if they're doing enough. Right? Those are the things that can keep us up at night, and that's happening not because you're doing something wrong. Let me tell you that again. If you are constantly wondering if you're doing enough, you're not thinking that because you're doing something wrong. It's because very often you have been expecting the impossible of yourself. And this is where unrealistic expectations can really, for the lack of a better word, screw us over. So when you are trying to be your kid's teacher and be the household manager and keep all the meals and hot and like fold all the laundry and make sure you never like yell at your kids or lose your temper, right? If you're feeling stretched too thin or constantly on edge, it's not because that you're weak. It's often because you've been trained to carry too much without the support you deserve. And I will say, we can carry a lot as women. And there's a difference between carrying a lot and carrying a lot well. And I used to, back at my early days of business online, there is a local mom here who I'd met a couple times. She'd been featured on Good Morning America, and she was like into fashion, and she had little kids my kids' age. And of course, and she looked beautiful, and she was stylish, and I was like ragged. My eyebrows didn't look like this. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I'm thinking she has it all together. We're both like, I knew I was going to homeschool. Like, she's thinking about homeschooling, and look at her. She's got this amazing like life, and she's featured on Good Morning America, and like, what's wrong with me? And I had this realization of I don't know her support system. Like, maybe her mom lives with her. Maybe her husband like works part-time. Maybe, there's other elements going on. And I don't want to say I had the realization. I felt like God through prayer was like, you don't know the support she has. And it kind of helped me go, whoa, oh, okay, you're right. I don't know the support she has. And that's okay. I don't need to know the support she has to be okay with where I'm at. And I got a message from a mom. I haven't fully listened to it. She's in my live event right now, which is Plan Your Homeschool Year Like a Boss. If you missed joining, that's okay. I'm hosting another one next month. And she's like, it's just so inspiring seeing all the things you can do, and you can be there to support us as moms. And that didn't happen overnight. And that doesn't happen if I'm not taking care of myself, of my kids. My husband is so supportive. The reason I can do and hold a lot is because of support in my life. So I just want to put that out there. So often you're carrying too much without the support that needs to be like accompanying that amount of what you're carrying, right? Yeah. Okay. Let me get back into my notes. So let's talk about when I have like identified there's something weighing you down about homeschooling. Because if you're feeling burned out or you're feeling overstimulated or you're like, all done, these, like, I'm all done. The root of burnout isn't actually that you don't care. It's very often that you care very deeply about everything all the time. And when we carry everything on our shoulders as homeschool moms and don't get the support we need or ask for it even, it will lead to burnout. And then you will stop caring about all the things because you can't carry it all. So what I see happening with most of the homeschool moms in my programs and community, number one, they are dealing with a lot of decision fatigue. The average person is making around 35,000 decisions a day. And as a homeschool mom, I'm pretty sure we've hit that number by noon. So, I mean, really, like, okay, what to make for breakfast? What subject to start with? How should I redirect this behavior, or should I let it slide? It's really constant and depending on the type of children you have and how many you have of them, you might be like hitting that by 9 a.m. because some kids are just full of questions. I'm just like, blah, my brain, get out of it. So we have decision fatigue and our brains are exhausted. There's also emotional overload where we're trying to carry everybody's emotions. Our kids, maybe our spouses, then maybe we've got this guilt and this worry and we're not doing enough all stacked on top of it. And that's too much for one person to carry. Also, as a homeschool mom, we are dealing with constant interruptions. And one of the things that makes me wonder if I have like some form of ADHD. It's really not important to me whether or not I ever got formally diagnosed. But there's this thing about the way I think. And it's like if I'm thinking, like if I'm typing, for example, and I'm trying to get a thought out, if I can't get that complete thought loop out and like have the ends touch and like finish it, and I get interrupted with, whether it's a bloody curdling scream or just like, hey mommy, can I have a banana? It is so disorienting and so jarring for me. And that has nothing to do with my kids, and that just has to do with like the way I'm wired. And so when we can't finish thoughts or like a lesson or everything feels half done, our nervous system kind of stays in overdrive. And so these constant interruptions that just come with motherhood can be very, very draining. And then again, talking about unrealistic expectations, how these can really weigh us down. And I'd love to hear from you in the chat, in the comment box. I'd love to know like which one of these are really resonating with you. So unrealistic expectations might be the biggest one that most homeschool moms deal with. And so we enter homeschooling with this like vision of everything's going to be wonderful and all the kids are going to get along and it's just going to be this beautiful dream. But then you could have one of those days, like maybe a couple a year, but I mean, they're really like unicorn days. We don't have beautiful read alouds and math lessons that are just flow so smoothly. And, we're measuring our days, our success by things that actually rarely exist. And then we always feel like a failure because we're like, oh, it doesn't look like this unicorn day. Well, if you look at a horse, like a horse is beautiful, graceful, powerful, and they're amazing animals. But if you're like, well, it's not a unicorn, then you're going to miss all the beauty about a horse because it's freaking missing a horn. Like, yes, there's something magical about the idea of a unicorn. But if you keep saying, well, this horse is not a unicorn, then you're going to miss the beauty that a horse has. So these unrealistic expectations can work very similarly. So lastly, once we realize all this pressure we're feeling and that we're overloaded and we're not actually lazy, then we need to shift our mindset and reframe the pressure. And so what I want to offer you, and the mindset shift. Oh, you say that funny. The mindset shift is that this is the one that really actually helps me. The goal isn't to do everything. Your goal as a homeschool mom should never be to do everything. It should be do what matters most. What matters most. And that's going to fluctuate day to day. That might fluctuate hour by hour. Our job isn't to do it all. Our job is to do what matters most. Because you weren't meant to run a classroom in your living room or measure success by perfect behavior in a tidy checklist or gold stars. Like, those things are valuable and they have their place, they're tools, but they do not, those aren't measurements of success. And the system that most of us were raised in taught us how to comply rather than lead. And so if you've been struggling with leading your homeschool, it's because you went to public school. It taught you how to comply, not lead. And also, it taught us not to trust ourselves. One thing that I see consistently over just moms in general, not even just homeschool moms, is that we struggle to trust ourselves. We struggle to trust that intuition. And that is because very often we have been brought up in a system that taught us to comply and shut down all those internal signals and just do what you're told. Ooh. And then sometimes I realize I'm doing that to my own children, and I'm like, whoa, okay. It's okay if they talk back a little bit. It's okay if they challenge me. We're going to navigate this together. Okay, that's a side note. But the system we came from that taught us how to comply and not lead, this is not how we build something better for our kids, right? So if you have been feeling the pressure to get it all right, that's not your voice. Let's be clear. If you hear a voice in the back of your head, it's like, you have to get this right. You have to get it all right. It is a muddling of your genuine care for your family and this system that's trained you to comply, right? And if you learn to lean into your intuition, you will be getting it right. But you've been taught to comply rather than to lean into your intuition. And so it's just an echo of a system you no longer serve as a homeschool mom. And now you get to be the boss. Like, I get to decide the rules, right? You set the tone. You get to lead your home in a bend towards peace, not perfection. So if you guys want to skip the worksheet, skip the worksheet. Or if the planner's not working, you can get rid of it. I mean, you can let your kid do math upside down on the couch. I can't even, I see my kids, they don't technically do math upside down, but they do read upside down with their heads hanging off the couch. And I'm like, just looking at you makes me sick, but okay, you're reading. It's fine. So the next time that voice creeps in, this pressure, here we go. The pressure to do it all, I want, and it's like, you're behind, you're failing, you're not doing enough. I want you to straighten up and look it in the face and be like, actually, I'm not doing it your way anymore. We're going to do family differently on purpose with peace and connection. And it's going to be beautiful, like the freaking rays of the first morning sun. So I want you to be comfortable with breaking rules that were never made in your best interest. Break the rules that were never made in your best interest. Because you get to set a new tone. And this is your homeschool, and you're going to do what works for you guys. So if you need some help kind of giving yourself permission to break those rules that were never made in your best interest, I actually have a freebie for you. Here in your planner, and you can lean on them when your brain starts to roll. And there's also a 3-minute little voice memo for me. It's not fluffy. It's just real words that can help you ground yourself before the day gets away from you. So If you feel like this conversation has stirred up something inside you and you're sitting there thinking, okay, you know what? I need to break some of these rules. Go ahead and use this simple tool. I have the link to it in the comments below, and it's a free download. So one mom who downloaded these, I was sharing them with her, and she was like, "Man, I put them on my mirror, and then I went in my bathroom to cry. Then I remembered, like, you know what? I have permission to break the rules, and it's okay to do life messy. It's okay to do life messy." And she came out and she was like, "You know what? I've got this. Like, I can do this." Right? And so it's these truth telling little notes have the power of shifting your story and replacing guilt with new truth. And so I'd love to hear what's landing for you moms who've tuned in with me today. I know some moms have jumped in and out, and that's okay too. But I would love to hear from you. If you're like, I'm ready to break the rules, or like, oh yeah, I think I have decision fatigue, or maybe I'm dealing with unrealistic expectations. I'd love to hear from you because you're not alone, and you don't have to figure this out on your own. So next week, we're going to be talking about screen time sanity, because when this is airing right now, it's going to be like the very beginning of summer, and a lot of times we can revert to what's easiest, and if we need a break, we can give our children screens. And I'm not against screens, but again, they're a tool, and using them appropriately and in alignment with your values, I think, is very important. So we're going to be talking about this not from a place of guilt and not with a bunch of unrealistic rules. So I want you to join me next week so that you can figure out what works for your family and see how we went from reactive, last-minute screen decisions to something that actually supported our family. Because it's not about controlling everything. It's about being confident with what you're doing. So if today hit home, remember, I did just write a book. Pretty cool. It's really awesome. I wish I had a copy to show you. I'm getting more in the mail, but all my copies I gave away. So don't forget, we're having a live launch party for the book on July 15th from 12 to 3 Pacific. And I'm going to have giveaways for anybody who buys the Kindle version during the party. There'll also be live coaching, readings, and some surprise guests. So I want you to grab your copy if you want a paperback. So right now, before July 15th, 2025, this is the cheapest you'll see, the paperback. So grab that, and then if you want the Kindle version, or you just want to support me on July 15th, you can buy the Kindle version for 99 cents. Alrighty, ladies, so let this be your permission slip. Go ahead, reheat your coffee, take some deep breaths, and take one small step towards the homeschool life you actually want, not the one someone else told you to build. You don't need perfect path. You just need courage to trust your path. And if this encouraged you, go ahead and tap, like, and subscribe, or send this to another mom who's in the thick of it, and I'll see you next week. Same time, same place, and take that permission to break